go out to everyone at home. Being leader of UKIP will put you all under increased scrutiny and pressure. Andrew Leadsom was a good example over a weekend how the main national media took on a cabinet minister and removed her within a weekend. Do any of you have any skeletons in your closet that you're worried about? Elizabeth?
I wish I did, but I don't. Sorry.
That's easy. Jonathan?
No.
Bill?
I'm a completely flawed human being. I have made many mistakes during my all too long, obviously by the state of my hair, life, and frankly, all of my skeletons are out of the closet, jangling around me every time I walk down the street. In that respect, I think I'm probably similar to about 99% of the rest of the population. And in that respect, I will never hide the fact, I will never pretend to be something I'm not. I am a man who's made so many mistakes, but who still continues to try to do the right thing, and I will promise to always try to do the right thing.
I'm sometimes wondering whether Bill and I are actually sitting here together and we should morph into one person, because I've got written down here, I am a completely flawed human being.
I need some glasses.
You know, you've got to get it as well. Most of the people in this country now know that no one is 100% perfect, and if you get someone that is 100% perfect, then you're going to end up with a world of Blair, or you're going to end up with a world of Cameron, or you're going to end up with all those sort of people that have never been able to listen and understand ordinary citizens in this country. Everybody knows somebody in their family that has done something wrong. Everybody knows the mistakes that people have made. And I'm not going to hide the fact that I, like Bill, have made mistakes in my life. I try to learn from those mistakes. But at the same time in politics, we shouldn't be here trying to attack the man or the woman for the mistakes in their lives. We shouldn't be part of any campaign in politics to try and show those people up, to try and score a point by hitting the man, because we saw how many times they tried to do that with Nigel. A grown-up party, with grown-up people inside of it, grown up enough to be able to say that we're listening to those concerns of individuals and putting the policies forward, is the party that's going to win and beat Labour at the next general election, not the party that's going to concentrate on their own people, their own campaigners, their own electorate, in terms of saying to themselves, you're a flawed individual. No, flawed individuals exist. Let's ignore that, go for policies, and let's win at the general election.
We have 2 questions left, looking at the time, we're going to go through them. The next one I think should be fairly simple. In the 2015 General Election Manifesto, we promised to scrap inheritance tax. Lots of comments came after the general election from different party spokesmen with different opinions. What would you do? Bill?
Change the whole tax system to make it more simple, fairer, and frankly, leave more money in your pocket so you've got more freedom. So as far as I'm concerned, any tax we can get rid of is a good one, and anyone who wants more taxes, well, I'm sorry, we're not on the same page. We can get our public services, we can get them right, we can do it properly, we can reform them, and of course, be there for the most vulnerable in society, but we do not have to tax. And it affects the weakest and poorest in our society the most, and amongst those things are things called sin taxes, which are on drink, alcohol, tobacco and fuel, and those hit proportionately the poorest in our society more than anybody else. The whole tax system is messed up. It's time we looked at it, changed it, simplified it, and let's scrap lots of it.
Elizabeth?
Yes, I agree. There are far too many regressive taxes in this country. We've got the congestion charge in London, which I'm sure will be eventually making its way around the urban centres of this country. That affects the poorest, so anyone driving into London during trading times. If you're a van driver, white van man, you are going to be hit, you have to pay every time, and this of course filters down to the consumer. So we have a congestion charge in London, which is a regressive tax. We have alcohol duty. In fact, British alcohol duty, I think, contributes about 40% of the entire alcohol duty of the EU, which is extraordinary. We have tobacco duty. We have obviously your capital gains tax. These are problematic taxes. They're aggressive. They hit the poorest person. The inheritance tax. It seems to me that the Tories have somewhat stolen our fox there. They have offered a significant reduction in inheritance tax to be stepped over the next couple of years. And I don't know if we'll actually be able to beat that. We obviously would need to do a detailed actuarial analysis as to what would actually happen if that inheritance tax is removed. From what I remember, I don't think it would result in a significant drop in tax revenues. We have to accept that the society we live in at the moment, whether you're libertarian or not, does require and is sustained by a significant amount of tax revenue. So if we lose it from one area, where are we going to get it from elsewhere? Also, I know that there's been a lot of talk about removal of corporation tax, which would be absolutely fantastic for post-Brexit Britain.
You live your whole life, you work hard, you put into society, you pay your taxes. You have paid your taxes on that money, and when you die, society wants to tax you on that again. Inheritance tax is a tax on death. It is the most pernicious type of taxation that exists in this country. UKIP made a mistake in reversing our policy of scrapping inheritance tax, and finally that we bring tax back. And then we look at how we can make sure that taxes are lower, particularly for those working people that we're talking around this table about trying to help. Those people who will help us to win general election seats in 2020. We look at our tax system, which is the second most complicated in the world, and that is an utter disgrace. We have to do something about this. And I agree with most of the points that we've heard around this table on this. What I will say, I've got a track record on this. Going back to 2008, one of the first things that I did as General Secretary was putting together that chain booklet where we talked about all the things that we believed in, about UKIP being that low tax party, about talking about all the different things that we could do. And that's why we need to make sure that UKIP sticks to our core values. We must not throw away those core values. We don't need to change the policies. What we need to change sometimes is the way that we put them across. And we need to learn to put across our policies in a better way than we have done so far, perhaps.
In a country that cares about its people, who believes that we should have a system in place that those who are not well off do not have the funding, so that we have a health service that provides them with the capability of having a fruitful life. For those with mental health illnesses, those with disabilities have the provisions of health for them. For a party like ours that believes that you should have education, again, free in many ways to all, but given the option of competition out there, that wants to pursue the policy of social mobility, then to have an NHS, to have a free education system to an extent, to have a legal aid services, to provide for our armed services, to protect ourselves as we talked about today, we must have taxes. But at the same time, we must realise that under the governments of the Labour Party and of the Conservative Party over the last few years, they have been excessively taking out tax from our country without dealing with the problems of where we're spending the money. We have noticed that huge waste across our countries. And I'll give you one example that I was taught to about the issue of bringing in apprenticeships. There are schemes with apprenticeships where 30 to 35% of the cost of those apprenticeships are down with the civil service themselves, rather than being spent on the people we're trying to help. So we know there are massive amounts of waste. And why did we challenge the European Union? because there were masses of waste in that organisation, and we believe that we should have our own money back from there to spend on our own. So when you take that unbalance, you then consider whether the taxes that we are implementing are actually causing any benefit whatsoever. And I've always believed that we must look for a system that reduces the taxes in this country significantly for the individual, to give them individual freedom, to give our small and medium-sized businesses tax freedoms, whilst going after aggressively the corporates who have aggressive tax avoidance. And inheritance tax is not one of those taxes that we need to keep, particularly if we like to move either to a single tax system, which I've always favoured, but we need to have a proper working party in that place so that we can move to a single tax structure which benefits all, including those at the bottom, the aspirational and the small and medium-sized companies that keep those, so we have our services in place as well.
Since I've been a member of YI, and many of you in this room who've been on a YI council have been campaigning to get YI representation at the top of this party, at the moment being the NEC. Every single chairman and every single member who has tried has failed. As leader, what would you do to get YI represented at the top of this party fairly and correctly? Elizabeth?
Of course there should be a YI representative attending NEC meetings. We need to hear what is going on nationally with the youth and how we can increase youth membership and youth engagement, of course. Now, please forgive me, I might have a hazy memory about this, but I always thought that there was a YI rep. I don't know why there should be one. Would you put yourself forward, Thomas? Would you want to be the rep?
I think... Well,
no, I'm asking you.
The question revolves around the YI chairman being represented at the NEC.
Oh, of course we do need a YI rep. I think at every regional committee there's a YI rep. There certainly is in London. There should be across every committee, and we should have one at the NEC, of course. Whether they have voting rights or not, I don't know, but they certainly should be presenting a report so that we can be in touch with what exactly is going on. Because YI are the grassroots, they've been extremely helpful in the London referendum, as I mentioned, the great Charlotte there, our London voters here. We did so much with Charlotte and her friends, that's been fantastic help. And we certainly need to engage, and we need more Charlottes. We want a lot more Charlottes. To get more Charlottes, and see how to do it.
Excellent, I'm married to a Charlotte. Look, there's things that you can do on day one, and there's things that take a little bit more time. On day one, you can go to the NEC, and you can say, right, I want to make sure that YI is invited as an ex officio non-voting member, and that can be done without changing the party constitution. That can be done instantly. What we then have to do is constitutional change. And I'm trying to give answers here that sort of explain what we can legally do, and I'm trying to say what we can do, how we do it, rather than make a promise first and then not be able to keep it. So, in that spirit, I'm saying on day one, you bring in an ex officio non-voting member, and that's what you ask the NEC to do as leader. Then, when it comes to the constitutional change, one of the propositions that we put out to members is that there should be a permanent YI representative on the National Executive Committee of the party. And that is then a proposition which is then up to you guys actually, because you've got to get a 2/3 majority of the party to agree to it, because it's constitutional change. So you'll need to persuade people. I'm quite happy to be on your side and advocate for that, but you're going to need to do that too.
Well, I was a comprehensive school lad, so my history wasn't all that good, but I know Charlotte was brilliant in London, but wasn't Boadicea not all that friendly to the people of London? I have a feeling she tried to massacre them, didn't she?
Well,
they still live there. Anyway, let's not be racist against the Romans. Come on. The main thing I think about this is, of course, there should be a YI member with full voting rights on the NEC. Obviously. Not just because it's a democratic thing to do, but also because, let's be honest, I'm getting on a bit myself. We're all getting a bit older, and we need shaking up sometimes. We need a younger voice to have some fresh ideas to say to us, come on, chap, you're talking a load of rubbish. What decade were you born in? You know, and that's the kind of stuff that we need in any committee that we're on, any group that we're on, we need that. Now, Jonathan is absolutely right when he talks about the Constitution, and those of us who have served out in Brussels with Jonathan know if there's one thing you can say about this man, he knows the rules of everything inside out. He's the oracle. And absolutely, you know, we all look to Jonathan when we look checking on a point of order. He knows. But what I would suggest, and certainly I'll be doing this in my platform for the leadership bid, if a leader of this party says as part of his platform that he's elected in probably what's going to be the best campaign that we've ever seen for leading this party, that he's going to see constitutional change to the NEC format and to the YI. I doubt very much whether the party would want to block that person in his first decision as a new leader, and if it was me, of course, I'd go through whatever it took to get it through. But my platform will be that there should be a member of YI with full rights on the replacement for the NEC.
Phil, for a moment I thought we were going to get back to the NEC where you said lions led by donkeys. But I want a party that's a bunch of lions led by wolves. Well, I'm going to make us all the wolf pack out there. Yes, I'm trying to line it. I've not had too many jokes in here today, have I? So I feel as though I've been absolutely too serious. But on this point, I am. Part of the reform structure of the party that I wanted, not only was it to create a flat divisional structure that looks across our campaigning, that looks at our training for our councillors, to look at the fundraising aspects of our party, to look at a central division that helps distribution in terms of our capabilities to fight elections, but it was also to have the people power through our new people forum, which the chairman, and one of those also, the third of a key point that I saw was that of a shadow cabinet. A shadow cabinet which I would be bringing in talented individuals who, from our party, who've already shown themselves to be good communicators, to express our message and get that out positively, but also to bring in brand new faces that perhaps the public haven't yet seen. And within that cabinet structure, I made that promise and I will make that promise again. There would be someone from Young Independents on that cabinet to be able to hear what we're trying to do and express their own views of this large membership that is growing day by day and will be essential when we're trying to expand our membership to take on Labour and to take on the Conservatives and to make sure that we get more people in Parliament in the next general election.
We're now going to move to the closing speeches for each candidate, and first we're going to go to the
Thank you for entertaining us all and having the patience to sit through all of this. You just sat through 1.5 hours of Q&A. God knows how you did it. I would say vote for me because you'll be voting for Lawrence Webb. He's going to be my deputy. We have a whole tier of policies. We're very keen to democratise the NEC. The key to the NEC is to have an elected chairman. That is absolutely key. Of course, we also need a YI representative, but as Jonathan says, that quite rightly has to be done within the constitutional rules as they now are. We're also very keen against military intervention. We are for trade, and scientific excellence. We want Britain to be number one, the number one Nobel Prize winning country in the world, because with that comes trade and wealth. Our wealth comes from intellectual achievement in this country, and that must be encouraged and cherished.
Well, I came in here this afternoon to an audience where I think perhaps there was at most 1 or 2 people in this audience already supporting me. And what I've tried to do today has not been to give a pat answer, to give an answer seeking applause, but I've tried to show today that I'm prepared to give the tough answers. To be a candidate who is going to give you the truth, whether it's something that you want to hear, whether it's something that's actually going to be a little bit tougher than perhaps we think about it. The new leader may well find themselves on an instant collision course with the NEC. That needs to be managed. Huge internal changes are needed. There are three things that we now need in this party to take us forward. Democracy, democracy, and democracy. And as we navigate through those choppy waters, the question I would ask you to go away and consider tonight is this. Which candidate is going to be best placed, best able, have the most experience to be able to navigate this party through those choppy waters? Which candidate will be best placed to bring a party that has actually had a lot of wounds, a lot of rifts, a lot of division back together? And the reason that I'm standing for the leadership of this party is ultimately very simple. For the last 15 years, I've worked incredibly hard to try to do my part in getting this party to where it is. And I believe I care about this party so much. And because I care about this party so much, I want to make sure that I'm the person to bring that back together. Thank you.
We have fought the great battles of our time together. With Nigel Farage leading us forward, UKIP has fought the great democratic battles of our time and won. We go forward with Nigel to the side, from us, front and centre. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not afraid. We will go forward, we will challenge, we will be radical, we will think the unthinkable, we will say what needs to be said, and we will not be held back by political correctness, fear of the unknown, doubt or uncertainty. If you support me in my bid to lead us all forward as a unit, as the People's Army, I can promise you from me, what you will get is someone who never shies away from the challenge, who's never afraid, who's always here with you, side by side, doing everything, fighting, battling, campaigning with you, as one of you. We, the people of UKIP, we, the people who care about freedom in our country, and we, the people who can make a real, radical difference for the better. We can go forward together and, as a unit, we can create a true democratic revolution in this country and change it for the better for all of us forever.
In the early hours of the 24th of June, when I knew that we had won the referendum, I punched the air. Some people in this room that I hugged and yelped, the smiles were palpable. And when I got home in the early hours of the morning and flopped into bed, I had this huge sense of achievement. The next morning, when I woke up, immediately, the press were putting out the stories. What is the purpose of UKIP next? Why do they exist? Why don't they just pack up their bags and go home? Well, I'm standing for this leadership campaign to be your leader because I don't believe we should be packing up our bags to go home. What we should be doing is opening up our suitcases, travelling around the country and making sure that people in this country know that we're here and we're here for good. And the reason why we're here for good is because 17.4 million people voted for Brexit and we still haven't got Brexit. We still haven't got Article 50. And therefore, those people need to be represented so we can hold the Conservative Party's feet to the fire and ensure we get our true independence, controlling our borders, making sure we get our money back, our laws are controlled by our Parliament, and our fisheries are there. But there are also vast swathes of people in this country that believe in Britain, are patriotic, who want to see their children grow, who have no longer have the faith in a Labour Party that can actually maintain that for them. And I want to say to those people that you once voted for Labour, but UKIP is your natural home. But to achieve that, we must have change in this party. Reform at the top, bringing in more democracy for our party. We must enhance our membership by new structures. We must have a message out there, and a message of social mobility that encourages all in this country, because that's the type of country we are. and it's the type of party that we are. A party that loves freedom and democracy, and I want to see us win to have a new era for a new Britain in this party. That's why I want you to vote for me. Thank you.
I hope this has been a very productive debate for all of you watching and all of you watching via Facebook. And please join me in giving a round of applause for all of the candidates today that I think have shown themselves in a very good light, and our future in UKIP is very bright looking at this panel. Thank you.